Hello and welcome to the Daily Meal for Saturday the 18th of September 2021. Today was match day, and if you don't already know, it was another draw. 3 draws in a row, but we should have won that game. We should have won that game because we had the ball in the net. Tom Bradshaw scored, and they chalked it off because of offside, and it clearly fucking wasn't. That's such a bad call by that. I think it was the linesman, and the referee just backed him up. Like, bruh, if you gave the goal, fucking crack on. What are you listening to this guy for? So this is the match report from news@den.co.uk. And it says George Saville scored his first championship goal of the season, but Millwall were held to a 1-1 by high-flying Coventry City at the Den on Saturday afternoon. Victor Gyökeres fired the Sky Blues into an early lead before Saville's deflected finish earned the Lions a third draw on the bounce to extend their unbeaten run in all competitions to 5 matches. Tom Bradshaw thought he had scored on the stroke of half time, but his header appeared to be wrongly ruled out for offside. Millwall made the brighter start as they went in search of a first half goal since Jed Wallace's stunner at QPR on the opening day, but it was the visitors who struck first in the 10th minute. Gyökeres played a neat 1-2 with Dominic Iam before lashing a low effort into the far corner from just inside the penalty area after the Lions had failed to clear their lines. Millwall responded well though and nearly hit back immediately, only for Matt Smith to be denied by a brilliant last-ditch tackle from Iam. That equaliser did arrive midway through the opening period when Wallace cut back for Saville to fire home his first championship goal back in SC16 by the aid of a kind deflection off of Todd Kane. Scott Malone then sung the palms of Simon Ward with a thunderous volley as the Lions ended the first half in the ascendancy, though they could have fallen behind again, but Kane couldn't find the target after Gyökeres' cross found him at the back post following Matty Godden's missed kick. Gyökeres almost grabbed ease and Coventry's second on the stroke of half time before Bradshaw thought he had put Millwall ahead in the final action of a pulsating first period, only to see his header from Malone, a left wing cross, ruled out for offside, though it was Smith who had been penalised despite not interfering with play. The end-to-end nature of the game continued after the break, and Coventry had a glorious chance to retake the lead on 47 minutes, but Bartosz Białkowski made a sharp save with his feet to deny Godden, who had been slid through by Callum O'Hare. Bradshaw was denied by a flying Moore save as the Lions tried desperately to find a win and record only their second championship victory of the campaign, but they were unable to break down a well-organised City defence and had to settle for a third draw in a week. Talking points. Horrible refereeing decision cost Millwall. Having responded excellently after falling behind, it looked like Millwall would go into the break in front following Bradshaw's header. However, much to the bemusement of everyone inside the den, even the travelling Coventry fans, his effort was somehow ruled out for offside. Bradshaw was clearly behind the play when Malone crossed, but for some reason the linesman gave the decision against Smith, who didn't touch the ball, nor was he interfering with play. Keith Stroud and his 2 officials were greeted with boos as they left the pitch at half-time, more unsurprisingly cheered by the visiting supporters when they made their way back out after the interval. A sign of the old Saville. It's been a tricky start to the midfielder's fourth spell in the Millwall shirt, with his only goal prior to this afternoon coming against Portsmouth in the Carabao Cup. On that occasion, Saville managed to get himself forward and produce an instinctive finish into the bottom corner, but he hasn't been willing enough to get himself in the box since. However, his equaliser here was the Saville of 2017-18 and a goal-scoring threat that Lions fans saw regularly then. With Smith dropping deep, Saville continued his run and was picked out perfectly by Wallace to level. He then showed the other side to his game in the second half as he sprinted almost the length of the pitch to prevent Gyökeres from getting his shot away with his brilliant defensive work, met with a rapturous roar from the home faithful, a cynical yellow aside which was actually badly needed given Millwall was short in numbers at the time. It was a fine display at both ends of the pitch from the midfield man. Positive news on the injury front. It's been one thing after another throughout in terms of absentees in recent weeks. The Mill boss went into today's clash with 8 injury doubts. However, he was given a boost after 4 of those were past fit, as Malone shook off a knock, while Daniel Bala made a speedy recovery following an eye injury sustained at Swansea on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Mason Bennett was also fit enough for a place on the bench and was joined by captain Sean Hutchinson, who had missed the previous 6 championship matches with a quad injury suffered in the EFL Cup back on August 10. Danny McNamara, George Evans and Benik Fobi almost missed out through injury though, while illness prevented deadline day signing Shea Ojo from making his own debut for the Lions. And the starting lineup was Biakowski, Leonard, Ballard, Murray Wallace, Cooper, Malone, Kieftenbeld, Saville, Jed Wallace, Matt Smith, Bradshaw. And 3 subs were made. That was Mahoney for Kieftenbeld on 81, Billy Mitchell for Smith on 69, Bennett for Bradshaw on 81, and the unused subs were Long, Pierce, Hutchinson and Thompson. So there you go, a draw, another draw. We should have won that game. Well, we should have. That second goal should have been the second goal. And if we go on to win the game, we go on to win the game. But it was a pretty end-to-end game. Chances for both teams at both ends of the pitch. It's a game we could have won, but we didn't, and it's another draw. So another draw. So what does Gary Rowett say about that? So we've got some comments from Gary Rowett post-match now. Mill boss felt Coventry City unlucky not to win at the Den, but also that officials denied Lions' perfectly good goal. Gary Rowett felt his Millwall side were fortunate to get a point from today's 1-1 draw against Coventry City. So Gary Rowett was not too pleased with the performance apparently. George Saville counted out Victor Gyökeres, opener for the Sky Blues, as the Lions had to settle for a 3rd straight championship draw, and Rowett was in rueful mode about Keith Stroud ruling out Tom Bradshaw's goal, with even the Sky Blues boss Mark Robbins admitting it looked perfectly legitimate. The Lions chief said, "If I look at the last 2 games, we look stronger physically than our opponents and deserve more than 2 draws. Today, I changed the formation 3 times and it didn't make any difference. We could not get enough energy into our team. We were fortunate to get a draw today. There is a big moment the officials get wrong. I've seen it back 4 or 5 times. And Matt Smith is onside. And Tom Bradshaw's onside. So it's irrelevant who is interfering with who. But they are moments you sometimes have to accept that are not all going to be right. I've also got to give credit to Coventry. They are an excellent side. The way they have evolved over the last 2 or 3 years. You can see the likes of Hamer, O'Hare causes so many problems just behind the front, and Gyökeres gives them that little bit of presence they possibly haven't had previously. I was always worried. It's not an excuse, but when you get back at 4 or 5 o'clock in the Thursday morning after a long trip from Swansea, where we've worked incredibly hard to win the game at the end, I knew there would be a cost today. I changed 2 players, but that didn't change the energy in the side. But Biakowski ended up taking a 20-minute ice bath at 3:30 in the morning at the training ground to try and recover. That's the lengths the players have had to go to. If you haven't got enough time to properly recover, then you have to do what you can. Just the lack of options has made today's game a step too far. The first goal was a really poor goal to concede. Gyökeres works incredibly hard and is aggressive to try and create the opportunity, but I would expect our centre-halves to be as equally aggressive to stop it. Yeah, he got past Jake Cooper, and then he got past Murray Wallace as well, and then he just kicked it not too fast into the corner of the goal. It was a pretty soft goal to concede, but it's been symptomatic of a few goals we conceded. Just too easy. It was a soft goal. We score a very good goal ourselves when Sav arrived late. Good play from Jed. Apart from the goal that shouldn't have been disallowed, we didn't do enough. I don't think the quality was there enough. We didn't have enough sustained attacks. There wasn't much in the first half, but in the second half, we couldn't create enough energy to give us a chance of going to win the game. They deserve to win the game. Sometimes you have to hang in there when you're not playing well, do the right things. There's a feeling of helplessness on the sideline because you know the issue and there really isn't anything you can do about it. anything you can do to change it. So there's what Gary Rowett's talking about. He says we were lucky to get the draw out of that game because the players were just too knackered, apparently. He changed the formation 3 times and nothing happened. And he's pointing the finger at the players. And this now is from CoventryTelegraph.net. And this is where even the brigging Mark Robbins, the Coventry City manager, he's saying that disallowed goal, our disallowed goal, should have been a goal. Mark Robbins admits Coventry City were lucky not to have conceded a second goal at Millwall, but overall delighted with his team's point that completes an impressive unbeaten week for the club. Listen, this game could have gone either way, and I think you can see from the results up and down the country today how difficult this game is and how much it takes out of you. So from our perspective, I think it's been a really good week. We played some really good football, took the lead but conceded a poor goal, but we were playing a really good side, and these are a different proposition from when we played them last year because they've got really good players, and B, because the crowd's back and they play in a way that demands things from you, and I thought both sets of players performed at a high level, and it was a really good advert for Championship football. The City boss, however, admitted that the Lions had what looked like a good goal by Tom Bradshaw disallowed for offside just before the interval. It could have been 3 each, it could have been 4 each, he said. And they will feel aggrieved because it looked to all intents and purposes a good goal just before half time. So relief from our perspective on that score, but really on the balance of play, we've got to be happy with a point. Playing against a good side, having played 2 tough games at home and then travelled away, Gary Rowett has had it in reverse where they've travelled and come home in the 3rd game in a week. I think you're going to play the 3rd game at home, might be a little bit of benefit. Credit to the players because both sets have given everything. The energy they have expended is incredible. And then he goes on to talk about some of his players, and I don't really care about that. So yeah, even their manager is saying, yeah, that should have been a goal. So, bruh, this is... You can see the table. Let me go back here. Look at the table now. Look what that's done. What that referee's done to us by stealing that goal away from us. Well, if we would have went on and win, but yeah, there was an early goal. It would have been 2-1 going into the second half. Would we have maintained the lead? I don't know, but let's say we did. Look where we are now. We're 18th on 8 points. We're literally hovering just above the relegation zone. But if we win that game, we're way up, further up the table because we've got 10 points instead of 8. These are the margins we're dealing with, and fucking shit referees stealing goals off of players like Tom Bradshaw. He could have done with that goal. He's trying really hard. He got that goal, perfectly legitimate goal, and the fucking referee takes it off of him. Absolute joke. Let's move on now to this. So this is about Bart Bielkowski taking his ice bath. So yeah, more from what Gary Rowett said. So Coventry, the Rowett said Coventry have played at home and then they've had an hour on a train to London and a short journey to the game. Rowett said, from their point of view, I don't think energy is a massive issue. It's not an excuse, it's a championship. Teams have to go and play in Europe, but some of those clubs have bigger squads to cope with that fatigue element. Bart ended up taking a 20-minute ice bath at 3:30 in the morning at the training ground to try and recover, and that's the lengths the players have had to go to. However, if you haven't got enough time to properly recover, it's just a case of getting out there and doing what you can. I don't think there was much in it in the first half. Second half, we couldn't just quite create enough energy to go and create chances to win the game. So yeah, ice bath at 3:30 in the morning. Bart Bielkowski. Nice. That's some crazy shit right there, but good on him. Good on him, huh? The Iceman. That's why he's number 33 or number 1. 2 years in a row, player of the season. Because you take ice baths at 3 in the morning. Like a boss. Like a boss. Okay, we got this now. So, You know, we've got all these injuries and we're barely struggling to put out starting 11 and 7 substitutes. Well, oh, look what Gary Rowett's done. He's loaned out one of the youngsters that hasn't been loaned out yet. So this is from newsatden.co.uk and this broke this morning. Millwall left back makes loan switch to National League bottom side Dover Athletic. Millwall left back Junior Tiensia has joined National League Dover Athletic on loan until January 2. Tiensia, 20, has been in the Lions Matchday squads but has yet to make his senior debut. So he's been in and around the squad. So he's been there and done it. It's not like he's totally green. He hasn't started. He hasn't come on as a substitute yet. He hasn't started yet, but he's been in the squad. So you would think with all these injuries that maybe we keep him around, seeing as there might be more injuries coming up. But no, let's loan him to Dover. Athletic are bottom of the 5th tier on minus 11 points after they were docked 12 points for failing to fulfil fixtures last season as they had no gate income due to COVID-19 restrictions. Tiensia made one appearance on loan at Sutton last season. He could be involved on Saturday evening when Dover travelled to Weymouth, and yes indeed he was. He started the game. I believe he played in all 90 minutes. The game was on BT Sport and it was a 1-1 draw, so a decent result for Dover. And we'll see how Junior Tiensia got on. Apparently played okay, played pretty well, and I'll bring you that in the loan watch when that comes out. That's probably going to be a friggin' hour-long video now with all these players we've got on loan. But yeah, when I saw this, I was my flabber was absolutely gasted. I was flabbergasted. All these injuries we've got, and he's loaning like a player who's been a substitute on the bench. He's loaning him out. So in terms of under 23 players who could get on the bench, he's one of them. Isaac Loffey's one of them, but he's been loaned out. Aidan Muller's one of them, but he's been loaned out. And Alex Mitchell's one of them, but he's been loaned out. So it's all like he quickly and decisively made sure that he got loaned out so he wouldn't be forced to put him on the bench. He would probably rather have 6 substitutes, 5 substitutes, 3 substitutes, 4 substitutes than put a player like Junior Tiensia on the bench or Isaac Loffey on the bench. I really don't understand the mentality, that kind of mentality. Like, seriously, I really don't understand that. You got 9 players injured and you're fucking off the youngster that's closest to being involved in the first team squad, and you're loaning him out. Really don't understand that. Yeah, so there you go. That happened this morning. Then we had the game, the 1-1 draw. We should have won that game. We weren't better than them. They weren't better than us. Both teams were pretty gung-ho and trying to make things happen. There's a few tired legs and tired heads, which I think probably led to the goal that we conceded, and probably some of the chances that we missed. But it's just, the performance was good. The players tried. They made an effort. They made a sincere effort to try and win the game. And they competed. But yet again, it's another draw. Now I know it's not our first choice 11. There's no Benicophobe, who has made a difference when he's come in. There's no Shea Yojo. There's no Danny McNamara, but still, you know, all these draws. It's just. And now we got a game on Wednesday against Leicester City. Apparently we've got a few players might be back for that. Sean Ashton might be involved. He's on the bench today. There's a few other players as well. We're going to draw that game because you can't draw that game, because if you do, I think it goes straight to penalties. So, and I'm pretty sure George Long may be starting. So Garrett said, "Well, there's no reason why he wouldn't not play him." And seeing how the things that Bart's been getting up to, ice baths at 3 AM, maybe it's George Long. That'll be a welcome rest for Bart with George Long coming in. And we'll see what kind of team he puts out against Leicester City. We'll see what kind of team Leicester City put out, because they've got games thick and fast as well. They played midweek against Napoli at home. They're in, I think they're involved in the one of the European competitions. I don't know which one. I'm not following them. But yeah, so maybe they'll make wholesale changes, and we'll make. What team will we put out? How will we play? And it's a cup game. You got to win the cup game. So, but we're playing technically Premier League club. Now I imagine it'll be their reserves. We definitely put out teams to win the games against Portsmouth and Cambridge. And this is a cup game. You can't draw this one, Gary. You cannot draw this. There needs to be a winner. You can't draw this one. You win the game, or it goes to penalties and you win the penalties. It cannot be a draw. Please do not try and play for a draw. You're not set up to try and play for a draw. It's a cup game. Go and win it, for fuck's sake. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.